Hi everyone, I believe I am live. Maybe you can confirm if you can hear me well. Maybe one of you can check in the team if you can see me and hear me live on YouTube. Uh, and maybe in the chat also you can confirm in case you see me online. So I see 13 people are watching, which is great. And in the mean, one of you has to confirm if I'm audible. I think I'm audible, right? Good stuff. Okay, so today's topic, AI and IT impact and Anthropic and Claude and all of good stuff. The question is already out there from Sanjay that what is your opinion about the IT stocks we have in our small case? Yes, I'll answer that question. And Mr. Smile is saying yes, you are live. Great stuff. So welcome everyone for this Wednesday weekly live. We couldn't do it from last couple of Wednesdays because I was traveling and I couldn't really do it. And there was also a monthly AMA in between, so I could catch up with all of you back then. So going forward, we'll try to do it every week, every Wednesday. I'm also planning and thinking if some videos can be recorded, which we can later post it, during the course of the day or alternate days or couple of videos over a week so that you are already or you're aware of the kind of the change the impact of the news and impact of anything happening in a broad market on your companies, right? The companies you hold with our baskets. So to start with, I'll quickly share my screen if that helps, and maybe I'll share what I see as the first impact of AI and how it changes the game. So if you see this, I mean, my screen is slightly up from my from my neck, so I will be seeing like that. So if you see, this is just a example company. Disclaimer is that none of the name is kind of taken as any advice, and it is purely educational. Example has to be taken because I need to have a sample reference. For example, if you see, we took the financial statements of a company, right, which you see over these 4 5 pages, a lot of data in it. Just that, right? This is just the input provided. Of course, we have been trying this all on ChatGPT, Perplexity, and whatnot. But if you see the output, which I was just trying to show you in the other screen, which came out of the PDF I gave, this is the output which came out, right, by the machine. In terms of headline financials, balance sheet snapshot, wherever there's a change from last year, here we turn net cash, the entire cash flow summary. It talks about also what is happening in the debt part of it, right? And then, of course, it talks a lot in detail about ratio analysis, what we usually do in financial statement analysis. So it talks about what it tells us from a perspective of liquidity ratios and leverage ratios. So just a command, just a prompt, and good 4 5 pages financials, or I'll rather say the entire financial statement given to a machine. The quality of the output is accurate, right? It doesn't hallucinate. It is working as it's an analyst and trying to be an investor and trying to understand the company from a perspective of red flags, yellow flags. So the credit to this piece of code is with Dinesh, right? Dinesh Pai from Rain Metals. So I saw his LinkedIn post yesterday. Rain Matter CEO is Dinesh, right? So he wrote a LinkedIn post that he has created a public repository of analyzing financial statements using Claude, and it's a public GitHub, so you can absolutely clone it in your local system. And this is the output of that prompt. Of course, it requires you to have Claude Code, which is $20 a month, but that's just it, right? And it talks about the red flags in the company, something which is to be considered as yellow flags, what looks really good in the financial statements. Then, of course, it continues to talk about income statement detail, key observations, what questions we should dig further into. So think about how this kind of technology, which has recently come and is disrupting the work we are doing. So if we have a team of analysts, right, who keep researching about companies and doing deep analysis, this kind of tech this kind of capability of processing large chunks of data to this kind of accuracy, I think is something which will change a lot of game. In not just in the core tech business where we talk about software development and talk about the large players like, of course, name only from a perspective of kind of education, Infosys, TCS, and all of that, because which are service-led companies. But talk about the work we are doing in terms of portfolio management, research. So now, if you think about our side, we are much stronger now. So of course we have a team of analysts, but then that team gets multiplied by 10 naturally because the team has access to all of these tools. And this is the verdict which the machine gives. Of course, it takes care of data from different sources, and that's what the disclaimer talks about. So credit to the tool, of course, goes to Dinesh Pai, who has written this piece of prompt and code. But ultimately, it's the power of the new technology, right? Which is shaping the game. So why I wanted to bring this topic in this today's, I'll say, Wednesday live is for the very fact that um, uh, tools like these is really disrupting, and that we can see from a perspective of what happened in the IT space. Let me also share again and go back to again the topic of the day, which is absolutely IT in picture. So if you look at again my screen further, again you'll see how IT, and if I talk about IT from a perspective of IT index, and if I hide all other variables, you just see the price action. You see how IT has fallen from its peak 30%, right? 30% Nifty IT as an index has fallen 30%. So think about the impact it would have caused on the companies. So from a period of December 24, when we have started to see the kind of peak out, right? Where we peaked out. We started to peak out already in September 24. October was most of the sectors. IT had given some kind of recovery, if you remember, right? Back then in November, December time, 24. And then the decline started. So we are at 30% now. What happened before this news broke out? Absolutely, we were sitting at nearly only 10% kind of drawdown in the index, which had a recovery first because we had a fall of, kind of good fall till the start of this financial year from last December to April. And then there was a good recovery in April, May, June quarter, followed by this fall, which happened over a month. Now, if you talk about the results, right, or even if you, before we go to results, if we talk about the valuation, again, credit to the tool, for example, screener here I've been using or trading view I've been using. So of course, credit to these creators of the tool. I'll of course show you Goldfee tools, which will give us another view of the data. If you talk about the price to book, right? I mean, I think something which is very important for all of us to understand that you can only make money in the markets if you pay right price. And I think price to book is usually a very good kind of parameter to kind of see whether you are rightly valued. Of course, P to P ratio is good. We talk about P ratio a lot, but P ratio sometimes P contract, sometimes they expand, sometimes the kind of re-rating happens because of the tailwind or the headwind of the sectors. Now, from a price to book, ratio is specific that how much you are paying. If you have to sell everything today, how much money I have, and this is where the sector specific numbers, for example, banks will usually trade as price to book of multiple of 2. Now, IT company, if you see from a last 5-year perspective, are trading at a median of 8.2, and currently, the index level price to book is 6 point something, it's 6.1, which means IT is valued at a lower. I mean, we are rightly valued. Say it's even undervalued from that perspective. Uh, yeah, from under. Sorry, there was some distraction. Somebody was coming to my room, so I was just saying, come after the meeting to the live. So from a perspective of, I mean, from a 10-year perspective, now IT has been kind of median trading at price to book of 6.9, which is again now much available at a cheaper price. Last 1 year, if you see, absolutely, I think I'll say a great place to be. Now, whether even though these companies are rightly valued, available, but a lot of you are stuck at much higher numbers. Now, if you go back to say another screen and talk about say this screen, now the credit goes to Dhan as a tool where we're talking about the market valuation of Nifty compared to IT, and if you see how over the last 5-year period, if you plot it, how kind of now we are kind of seeing some kind of why. I mean, this also explains in a way why Nifty Bank has been showing strong numbers, because it was rightly valued from a perspective of its large term average, long term averages, versus Nifty, which is still kind of slightly expensive if you see this way. But talk about, say, the heat map, and if you talk about Nifty IT, because that's the topic for today, and see how they have been doing from, say, a month period. So this is the bad state of the situation we are in, where players like these, which of course, avoiding names so that the AI of the world shouldn't capture me speaking about a company name and block my channel, just avoiding the names, that's why. But if you look at the screen, these are the big players, right, in the IT industry, and struggling in a month like that. The reason, as I said, is because of the Anthropic layer and the cloud thing which happened. And I have shown you the output of that tool. That's how sophisticated investment report, analysis report can be produced with the click of a button, right? With just a simple prompt, and just kind of 2-3 configuration, which will take 5 minutes in total, which an analyst would take, I'll say, a week to read, to process the data, to bring it together. So that is all replaced in with 5 minutes, 10 minutes, I'll say. Of course, there is a human layer which is needed. And there, I think a good news came from company filings of Nifty IT, I'll say, of Infosys, where Infosys came yesterday with a filing saying here, right, which says that uh, they basically unveil their first AI first value framework, which is going to be big. And I think they already announced their partnership with Anthropic to work on the enterprise level AI, which would help both in, of course, banking, finance, software engineering, manufacturing, for that matter, telecommunication is a big use case. So good thing is that so I'll say there are two parts of this question, coming back to how it impacts companies at Golfi. Now, all the companies we are covering as part of IT, right, are absolutely great companies. And the reason I'll say great companies are, I'll also show you one more screen. So let's talk about the latest results. Let's talk about IT results, right? This is a tool which talks about I think Nifty 50 right now. I'll of course change and show you. I'm sure. I hope you can see my screen. Let me just see if you can see my screen as well on my YouTube panel. Yeah, I think you can. You can see my screen, right? So, and I think live is slightly delayed. So that's why I am seeing little delayed data. But if you see from a results perspective, this is Nifty 50 heat map of results. This is revenue quarter on quarter, and most of the results are out. Maybe one or two are left, but 99% results are out, which shows a picture of where, if you look at from a industry perspective, we have done very good in consumer services, right, as a sector. We have done all right. I mean, this talks about the median, the yeah, Amit, absolutely. This technology will improve the ROI of the small cases for sure. I mean, of goal fee research for sure, because this is removing a lot of bias in the system. Even if the analyst has a negative bias or a positive bias, or a lot of human bias, this kind of gives a lot of clarity on the, asking the right questions. And even it gives you more power, because you as as a retail investor can also run this piece of thing and really ask us tough questions on why some company was selected, right, for that matter. Now, if you talk about, coming back to the topic, if you talk about the results, and I want to go to IT at large, because it's the main topic, and if I click on IT and check it by stocks, so if you look at IT as a sector, you see this is the result. Now, if you look at the companies like SCL Tech, Tech Mahindra, Infosys, of course, there's a flat, right? Flat quarter, 2% revenue growth quarter on quarter. From last year, same quarter, QYOY, it's still 8%, right? Which means the growth is happening, right? There is no negativity if you think from a results perspective. Whether you look at the last column here, the QYOY, or look at the first column, which is Q on Q. Of course, the middle ones are the prior quarter, and just for additional information. But if you look at these companies, there is no double digit sales growth, or there is no say double digit profit growth. But what I'm trying to tell you is the revenue is intact, right? The revenue is intact. Tech Mahindra again 3%. Even the operating profit is increased by 10%. If you look from a Tech Mahindra perspective, and if you look from a last year perspective, the quarter YOY, the operating profit is up by 30%, right? On Tech Mahindra, for example. STL Tech also, if you look at, of course, there's a lot of reds here, but we need not worry about these big names which are a part of Nifty 50, which usually are a part of your universe, because this provide a lot of competitive kind of balance and advantage at times when you are settling down this much and you are able to add more capital. I'll say, and with Infosys say release, which I just kind of mentioned, where people will one day think that everything is over now because the this will all replace this. The market cap of this company is equal to the market cap of all our companies combined, but we really forget about these power of these big companies, which they will be able to pivot. Of course, there will be a lot of job cuts and different kind of jobs will now come into picture, but these companies at an organization level, at an enterprise level, will be able to adapt slowly towards the new world. So whether you check Nifty 50 or you check little bigger universe and talk about, say, again back to IT. Let me go back to IT. Is IT gone here, right? So because somebody asked about other two companies, I just want to call out and see how the results are. If you talk about the last column, revenue of Coforge, operating profit from last quarter, last December quarter to this December, absolutely great. Of course, not really great but from the last quarter perspective, it's flat. Operating profit, revenue is just up by 5%. But think from a last year when we had a peak, right? When we had seen a peak in kind of 24 December versus December 25, how the revenue continued to grow, how operating profit is much higher than the last year, which means that what I've shown you from a price to book perspective, what I've shown you from a price to earnings perspective, you are really in a good place to be, right? And do not worry, do not panic about you having world is changing for good, I'll say, right? So do not worry too much about it. Now, let's talk about what we really check every time. We check also about the sectors which are showing strength. So we have come from a point where we had all sectors in strongly bearish territory. We have really come to a place which we are seeing that the quadrant is now shifting. We are now, a lot of sectors move to weekly bearish, a lot of sectors move to weekly bullish also, which is a great sign to be, which is a great place to be for us to be able to generate some active alpha by doing some active monitoring of our companies. Also talk about the strength, which talks about the how the sectors. Of course, there's a lot of reds, but if you talk about our last 2-3 months ago meetings, we were absolutely pure red. Now we see a lot of oranges, we see a lot of greens, some yellows are coming back. So that's where we see how the market is now coming back. In pockets. There's not a lot of greenery here, and there's not a lot of oranges here, but there is a section which we have just seen in the previous slide, like metal, bank, PSUs, private bank, auto, infra. I think this is really, really coming well if you think from that perspective. And also if you think from a market current positioning perspective, I'll see that 43% of the market as of yesterday is, and we have analyzed all the themes, for example, right? Whether it is any theme, like there are 23 themes, 23 sectors if you think about. And out of the 7 regimes we have classified, whether it is emerging uptrend or downtrend or choppy, we see that a large part of our market, I mean, still not large part, still 40% is actually going emerging uptrend on a smaller frame. And of course, some downtrend is still there. Dead sideway market is there. Healthy uptrend is coming in few sectors, right? Like healthcare, for example, media, for example. There's a healthy uptrend happening over there, and there is a downtrend and then downtrend, and yeah, there's also an uptrend happening, and emerging uptrend is of course in CPSC and all of that. So just to give you a view of what we all produce, both from systems which I have kind of, yeah, this is from a perspective of systems we use at our side, and of course the systems which are available for all of you to see from a market perspective. So how do I stop sharing? Yeah, how do I stop sharing here? So the idea was, as the topic suggested, the idea was to be able to give you a update that we are at a good junction now. Last February, you remember how bad we were in terms of all the reds everywhere. I think this is February, and last February is much different. We see a lot of we're seeing a lot of uh, good companies available at good valuation. So it's the matter of we picking the right companies in our baskets and slowly kind of moving all of us in the sectors which have a good results, which have earnings momentum, which are showing strength, all of that, right? So I request you to ask questions. I have done many one-to-ones over the last 1 month when we couldn't do YouTube live sessions. But going forward, I think we will try to do this weekly. And see, nothing much changes in a week, to be honest. So it is just important that I talk about all the events which has happened on the week, and maybe I can record that and upload it if you can want to watch later. But usually I like to come live so that you can actually connect well and ask a live question. Sometimes we kind of forget and don't ask question in a comment versus a live commentary. So there is no limit, Mr. Patel, to deploy money in our any cap. I mean, I'll say a couple of million dollars also it can accommodate. We have enough liquidity checks which we deploy in all our baskets, all our small cases. So we ensure that we only pick companies which can accommodate a big volume. So we do all those liquidity checks while selecting. So you won't find anytime any company where there's a challenge of any kind of liquidity. So that we take care. So there is no limit. If you're thinking about more than $1 million, let me know. Yeah. Mhm. I'll say I'll say very good time to invest money. I mean, not a recommendation but you please talk to your financial advisor. Absolutely. You need to know, do your risk profiling with your advisor, with your financial advisor, and accordingly decide. But I'll say, that's what, right? If I share my screen again and I'll show you the results, right? I mean, leave about the market strength, leave about the I'll say the market regime and all of that, which is more technical in nature and more quantitative in nature. But if you think about just if you think about the Nifty 200, right? These are the Nifty 200, say by performance, right? So this is how we are plotted by the top 200 companies of India, or say top 100 companies of India, right? Top 100 companies of India, and if you think about it, I see a lot of greenery here, right? This is what shows that the results are good, whether this is the entire construction material, right? Ultra cement and grass sim. You see the results, they are very good. They are very good quarter results, right? Of course, the last quarter was very bad, so it is always relative to the last quarter, so it looks green. But even if you compare the last column QYOY, it's absolutely good numbers, right? For example, in grass sim, so absolutely good number. So I think a lot of good companies, a lot of good results I see across the board, whether it is oil and gas, whether it is automobile, it is construction material, consumer services, consumer durable. So good results is a good sign. We are seeing a good quarter. Results just concluded. They're not great. They're not great, but they are good, right? So of course I can plot it as a lighter green color because they are not the two-digit growth and all that kind of stuff. But there is a push, right? There is something which is turning very well, I'll say, and I think we need to be more optimistic. And we have seen a tough period of, we'll say, being in this tough market for more than 1.5 years now, and for many of you, like 2 years as well, in terms of, when you started, and then you started a little late because you started with a small amount, then you added more money, right? All of that. Uh, yeah, so momentum trend mid and small cap model had to be updated to the actual model, which is mid and small. We had some kind of large cap. We want to keep it as what the usually the MFI standards, right? In terms of the cap, 65% and all of that in a mid cap model or a mid small model, and then remaining we allocate. But I think when the market gets stronger, I think it will be completely aligned to mid small 400, so that the so I hope. I mean, I will say that absolutely it should do good. And I mean, you have to decide, you have to understand. I think we have talked about our investor persona as well in the past, where all the aggressive investor personas can look into momentum trend and alpha blend kind of baskets, and all the balanced investors can look into a multi-factor and growth value kind of baskets, and all the conservative investors look into balanced multi-asset kind of basket. So I think it could be a combination that you pick one from that aggressive profile and one you pick from a conservative profile. I think that could be a good combination to go with. All right, that's what the data I had to present and wanted to bring to you that there is a lot of greenery, there's a lot of positive momentum building up. Do not worry about anything. Do not uh, give too much heed to negative news. Look into the data. I've given you a live demo of how good quality data the machine is producing. So it's just about you downloading the PDF, giving it to the machine, getting the accurate output, and ask questions from your French advisor, from your research team, so that you are fully aware of what is happening, right, with your money for that, because that's where you have to build trust in the system. I mean, you need to trust the system so that you stay with the system. I think that's from me, to be honest. Let me see if any other questions are coming. I think I'm done. I'm just checking if there's any other questions, and yeah, so good that you, somehow this kind of ads are coming somehow on my YouTube live. I don't know why I did not enable this ads, but somehow ads are coming when I'm trying to play back. Okay, I think I've answered all the questions as I can see. So thank you so much, everyone, and I will catch up with you anyways. I think our this Saturday could be our AMA, or maybe we'll do next. I think maybe this. So we'll decide when to do the monthly AMA, if this or next, basis the participation, and I'll keep you posted. Okay, guys. Thanks, everybody. Speak to you.